How do you decide what full-size comp striker fire gun you're gonna pick? Well, let me help you. Springfield Echelon Comp. Smith & Wesson Carry Comp metal frame. Canik TTI Combat. Shadow Systems XR920P. Walther PDP Comp. And finally, a SIG AXG Legion with a polymer frame. That is a lot of comped striker fired guns. And we're here to help you choose which one of these pistols is the best option on the market for a striker fired comped or ported gun. All of these are really good pistols. We have reviewed all of these. The only one that's slightly different, in order to make it somewhat more fair, is the SIG AXG Legion, which I put in my Wesson combat grip module. Why did I do that? With the metal frame on the SIG versus like what's on the Smith & Wesson, this pistol weighs roughly 10 ounces more than all of these. This pistol with the aluminum frame or metal frame here from Smith & Wesson is roughly still the same weight as the rest of the pistol, so it doesn't really affect overall shootability. The minute you start adding weight onto any gun, whether it's a light, whether it's weight in the grips or whatever it is, it changes how that gun's going to recoil. So all of these pistols, again, I repeat, are really good guns. We've reviewed all of them. They all had arguably glowing reviews. There's nothing bad to be said about any of these. You'll notice that the Walther PDP is not the exact X comp. However, I had made one before they ever came out with it. It's the exact same thing. I don't know that I'm gonna have a whole lot of negative stuff to say about any of these, but I'm gonna help you decide which one shoots the best, which one has the best feature set, and honestly, which one is the best one to purchase for the money. Almost all of these pistols are roughly the same price. You're looking at a price point for every single one of these that comes in around $1,000. The PDP is a little bit cheaper than that, and the Echelon's a little cheaper than that. Those two are probably the cheapest. And then the Smith & Wesson and the Shadow Systems, they're running somewhere between, let's say, $900 to $950. The SIG, you can probably do this. So the slide itself for the AXG Legion, you can scoop it up for about $450. You get the fire control unit. That fire control unit is about $350, and then you get the grip. So this Wesson combat grip, like I have on here, is cheap. They're like 60 bucks. So overall, you can build that, and obviously the Canik is close to 1,000. But again, we're not talking about huge disparaging price differences or anything like that. Well, how do they shoot? Initial thoughts. Out of every single pistol here on the table, which ones have the most effective compensators on them? The Echelon Comp, the Shadow Systems, and the SIG AXG Legion. There's not a doubt in my mind that those three pistols have the most effective compensators. Why do I say that? When I'm tracking the dot, or I'm tracking the sights on this iron sight model here, they all shoot considerably flatter than the Smith & Wesson, then the Canik, and then the Walther. Now, it's not saying like, oh, this is snappy. We're not going to talk about that. That's just complete and utter bullshit, to be frank. None of these pistols are snappy. And anybody makes a comment that the Walther's snappy, the Canik's snappy, the SIG's snappy, I mean, just work on your grip. They got comps on them, okay? But what I'll tell you is that I could stop this video right this very second and tell you the absolute best value on this entire table is the Springfield Echelon Comp. The money that you get them at, their retail was $750. They're not going to be that much at the store. None of these pistols are going to touch that price. Maybe the Walther's going to get the closest, but the Echelon best overall value and budget-friendly option with a comp, Springfield Echelon. My most favorite striker-fired metal frame gun with a comp, SIG AXG Legion. For me personally, Andrew's made the comment, he's like, man, you just are always shooting that gun. I happen to actually really like the 320 series. They're not necessarily my favorite, but the SIG AXG Legion, or this pistol in general, feels so nice in the hands, and how it recoils, it just feels really natural. It probably has, you know, probably one of the more 1911-esque like grip angles and all that, especially with the Wesson Combat or like the regular AXG Legion has. It feels good. And the comp obviously is very simple. If I was to tell you which one of these guns has the most effective compensator, it's the Shadow Systems. The Shadow Systems has the most effective comp. In fact, the minute that I picked up the Shadow Systems coming from the Canik, I actually was missing the target, which this pistol itself, I probably have the most rounds on it other than my AXG. So I've shot it a lot, and so for me to pick it up and miss is weird, okay? But what I'll tell you is that because with the least effective compensator on the TTI Combat by a large margin, I picked this up and immediately went to this and said, oh, well shit, I gotta adjust a little bit more for the fact of how much that comp really drives the gun. And you know, if you're talking overall comp drive, again, Echelon, Shadow Systems XR920P, and the SIG AXG Legion. Now, if you're looking at a pioneer for the company that came out with the first, let's say, comped pistol striker fire gun, well, SIG did. I mean, they beat all of them to the table by a year. So SIG, you know, love them or hate them, they are really running the market when it comes to configurations and designs and all this stuff coming out, and it shows. Everybody's behind, okay? So you had that, and then you had the Shadow Systems. So Shadow Systems coming in as a Glock clone. Some people love them, some people hate them. I happen to love them. I think they're fantastic pistols, and I think if you buy a Glock over one of these, I think you're an idiot, to be frank. And you know, I've just had such good luck with shooting these. This pistol has been 100% reliable. Smith & Wesson, 100% reliable, and the Echelon Comp, 100% reliable. Not 100% reliable, not 100% reliable, and although my favorite, not 100% reliable. This pistol will not shoot Winchester white box 115 grain. It won't do it. It just is like, I mean, you're talking, I don't know, 10 to 15% failure rate. This pistol, I've only probably had 2 malfunctions with it out of about 1,000, and that's likely to do the comp. I can't sit there and necessarily say that that's going to happen with the factory one. However, they didn't really change much. Overall, though, I think it's a very reliable gun. And then the Canik, this has been reliable for us. I would say 115 grain doesn't seem to really want to function the best. I haven't had any of the issues where people talked about out of battery issues or anything like that. So I can't speak to that, although I know people have commented on our videos and review of it. So, you know, the triggers, the Canik has the best trigger out of the bunch. After the Canik's trigger, I mean, I just don't know how you beat this. It's wide, it's fat, it's got a nice texture to it. Nice little wall, no creep, super light break. The Walther, you know, same thing. It's a little heavier. And then I would say, you know, after that, we're probably splitting hairs here between the next 3, to be fair. I'd probably say the Smith & Wesson has the next best trigger, which is, I mean, that's a far cry from what I used to say to Smith & Wesson pistols. I mean, their triggers used to be so bad, I would just never buy them. Now they're like decent enough for me to buy, because I'm not under the assumption that I have to buy a pistol, then have to change the trigger because the trigger is just shit. So I can't say that about these now. Overall though, the trigger is pretty good, has a pretty good crisp break on it, a little bit of like a crunch before you get there, but overall not too bad. The Shadow Systems trigger is better than the Echelon, but I'll tell you, not out of the box. I'll tell you after about 2,000 rounds. And why I say that, every single Glock trigger on the market that you buy, with the exception of the Timney, will break in, will get smoother, will get softer, and will have a more crisp break at the end. And this one's no exception, the XR920P. And then obviously you have, you know, the Echelon. The Echelon's trigger, again, it's just a really darn good trigger. And you're talking everything that you get with these, and at the price point that you can get them. I think that it's a really good pistol. The trigger is pretty good. Of course, you know, the SIG trigger, let's be honest, if you're going to argue with me that the SIG trigger out of these pistols here on the table is the best or better than any of them, you haven't shot a SIG trigger enough. You haven't shot the rest of them enough. I will tell you that in all likelihood, I probably have way more rounds shooting a 320 than any of these guns combined. I've used one of these for a duty pistol for a long time, and I happen to think the 320 is actually a really good pistol. But overall, the triggers on them, until you learn that there's actually a wall somewhere in this big giant ball of mush, like it's all the way in there, and right now I'm actually at it. and then it breaks. It is crisp, but for the average user, I would say it took, for me to really find that trigger, that good breaking point on the 320 trigger, it took a pistol instructor course with 2,000 rounds through an entire week. So meaning I shot every single day, roughly 250 to 300 rounds for an entire week. Tons of drills, instruction, teaching people and all that stuff. And that's when I really honed in and found where that point was. And now I can find it every time. But I'll tell you, unless you shoot that much, you will never find it with this pistol. I can tell you that the troopers I worked with, 98% of them didn't know that this trigger had a crisp breaking point, and they were never gonna find it. And that's just being real with you. So these are all great guns. We're gonna shoot these things again so you guys can see the recoil stuff, because performance stuff, when you're talking about all of these, is probably one of the most important factors amongst all of them. But again, like I said, top 3 contenders out of the gate: Echelon, XR920P, the SIG, and then I would probably say you're looking at the Smith & Wesson, the Walther, and the Canik last. But like I said, we're gonna shoot these again, go through that, and I'll try and hone in those points a little tighter. We'll start this next round out with the SIG. It's like riding a bike. The Walther PDP. With that risk of sounding a certain way, definitely, snappier than that SIG. Shadow Systems XR920P. Man, that sucker is flat. Canik TTI Combat. Definitely the snappiest or the most recoiling, not the flattest shooting. Best trigger without a doubt so far. It's a very natural pointing pistol. That's the Smith & Wesson Carry Comp steel or metal frame. I think what helps the Smith & Wesson is, people don't want to admit it, bore axis does make a difference, okay? It really does. Whether people want to say it doesn't or does, it does. The gripping surfaces and how this grip and pistol feels is, it's almost like, because it's slimmer than how the PDP is, and because that bore axis, this gun sits lower in my hand, it definitely feels less, let's say, snappy than what the Walther does. This pistol itself is actually a touch lighter than what that PDP is. And then the Echelon Comp. Good. Okay, we're getting this more refined. Ready? Don't hate me and call me a Shadow Systems fanboy. Please don't. The Shadow Systems is the softest shooting, flattest shooting out of all these pistols. I'd bet my life on it. I'd tell you right now. This actually, probably third. And why do I say third? Well, because this is second. This is second. And in fact, if you took the SIG AXG Legion in its original form factor, meaning that the actual metal grip and its mag well and all that, and being 10 ounces heavier than the rest of these pistols, probably the softest shooting. They generally have a little bit of a higher bore axis on your SIGs, but I've never really found that to be an issue. And I don't see an issue on any of them, but I'd probably say that, it's probably the higher. But like the Shadow Systems, this pistol is the lightest of the bunch. This is the lightest pistol out of all of these. And it actually, if if I sat you over here and say, hey, come pick up all of these pistols, which one of these ones is the lightest? Well, you'll pick up the Echelon, like, okay, this, Canik, and you pick up the Echelon, or the XR920P, and you're gonna go, huh. Then you pick this sucker up, which feels like a brick, and you'll pick this up and say, this is heavy because like the overall like muzzle weight and all that stuff that you have on here. So, the XR920P, while also being the softest or flattest shooting pistol out of the bunch, is also the lightest. Well, how does that translate in a carry capacity? Well, you can get the lightest, softest, flattest shooting pistol out of all of these and carry it. It makes it easier to carry, you know. I think a real good combination, real sweet combination, maybe like a PDP with a comp that's a steel frame. You know, then I would probably tell you, you know, the SIG AXG Legion with its original configuration, or to build one out, you know, Icarus precision frame, the AXG slide, it's just such a simple slide design. There's not a whole lot going on with it, just 2 chunk ports or 2 ports taken out. The barrel's a little shorter, 3.9 inches. They all have roughly the same length barrels. It's a really great option. You know, and then the Echelon, you know, easily. Guys, like, I'll stop you here for a second and tell you, best budget option for a comp striker fired gun out of all of these. You know, I would pick it over the polymer frame version of the Carry Comp. The Carry Comp from Smith & Wesson, the polymer frame is a 15 round capacity. So it's got a shorter grip, and it's a little bit on the snappier side when you're considering it, you know, to the full size, full frame guns. You know, the Smith & Wesson, I would say that these things are so new. When they come in about $800, I would tell you to buy this over the Echelon. So like, if you hold out and these come down, I would say pick this over the Echelon. The Canik TTI Combat, it's eye-catching. It's a head turner. Looks really cool. Really cool looking gun. Great grip textures, you know, great slide serrations. You know, it's a very easy gun to shoot. However, it's probably, you know, I haven't really seen their prices trend down too much below like $950. So they're still a little bit on the higher side. Shadow Systems is MSRP is the most expensive outside of like maybe the SIG. They're never that much. Most of the times I've seen these 900 to like 960. So, you know, although MSRP is high, don't pay MSRP unless you're an idiot. Okay, then the Walther, you know, these are getting down like around 8 to 9. Really great option. Walthers are really good pistols. The PDP, performance duty pistol. I mean, hard to beat. And then of course the SIG AXG Legion. In this configuration, you know, basically let's just say it's a build. It's really hard to beat the modularity of the 320 series. It's, you know, make a pistol however you want, buy just a module, you know, and then do the rest of it. Do whatever you want with the thing. You know, the Echelons are getting there, the aftermarket's not there. The aftermarket on the 320 series rivals what Glock had. Some of the Wessons are catching up with that, you know, because they're starting to get like this like almost niche popularity. You know, the Echelons will get there. The Canik TTI aftermarket wise is just complete dog shit. There's just not much. I mean, holster availability, you name it. And I don't know whether it's because they're not mainstream. And when you talk like guns and you're talking all of these pistols, well, which one of these guns would I carry as a duty pistol? You know, a few months ago now, I obviously resigned from being a state trooper to pursue a job outside of law enforcement. And I'm very glad I did. But what would I carry if I could choose and go back right now? It'd be a really, really hard toss-up between the SIG and the Shadow System. What would I choose, okay? That's what I would choose, okay? Really, they're just honestly both really great pistols. Reliability-wise, there's nothing wrong with the SIG. 115 grain Winchester white box will not shoot it well. Everything else, no issue. The Shadow Systems, it's such a nice, easy pistol to carry, whether in a duty holster, it takes G17 duty holsters. I mean, it's just like, it's a really great option. And I probably would steer a lot of people towards it, you know. And again, I'll tell you, if you think I'm a fanboy, that's fine, but go and shoot all of these like I just did and objectively tell me that that's not the softest flatting shooting pistol out of all of these. If you think I'm lying, again, prove me wrong. Please prove me wrong, because I don't think you can. You know, outside of that, you know, it's hard to say, like those two would probably be what I would pick. What would I recommend for the average consumer doesn't have a comp striker fire gun? And they really want to try, like, hey, what's it like? It's simple. The Echelon. The Echelon comp is the most wallet-friendly option on the table. Has a very effective comp on it. Good trigger, doesn't need anything. Optics mount right out of the gate. Doesn't need, you know, raised sights or anything like that. You know, the Smith & Wesson's good, but like you can honestly tell that even with this dot that, you know, co-witnesses find on some of the other guns, it doesn't do it on the Smith & Wesson. You know, and the Echelon series of pistols, you know, we own 3 of these and this is our 4th. 100% reliable. I'm not really sure they're ever going to malfunction at this point. They're just really good guns. And I happen to really like them. So, you know, if you're new to the market and you want to try a comped pistol, a striker fire gun, you know, probably the best way to get into it. If you want to, let's say, run the gamut and maybe have one of the best options out of the bunch, lightest carry, you know, do everything with it while also having full-size Shadow Systems XR920P. Best feeling in your hand, Smith & Wesson Carry Comp. It also has some of the best slide serrations. The SIG, you want modularity, you want to do whatever you want with it, SIG 320 with, you know, the AXG Legion slide, do whatever you want. I mean, they have tons of options. You know, the next option that I tell you is the PDP. You can get their new Pro X series. They're great pistols. The PDP, I'd 100% would buy one and carry it as a duty pistol without even thinking twice about it. Same goes really for the Echelon, the Smith & Wesson, the XR920P, the SIG, this, I wouldn't carry it as a duty pistol. Market support, holster options, it's just, and on top of that, like, not carrying this bronze beauty as a duty pistol. It looks ridiculous in that respect. You know, generally just plain black guns or gray will be just fine. The Canik though, great overall value with the box and everything you get. I think it's a good pistol. And guys, this is the point I really want to make to you and stress to you is that you can have different opinions. Me speaking objectively, the Shadow Systems is the softest, flattest shooting pistol of the bunch. I then would take the SIG, I would take the Echelon Comp, I would then take the Smith & Wesson, I would then take the PDP, and then I would take the Canik. So softest, flattest shooting is the Shadow Systems, then the SIG, then the Echelon, then Carry Comp, PDP. So that's, you know, that's really what it comes down to. Great pistols. It's a time to be alive if you're a pistol person. You like sweet pistols, you like comp guns. A couple quick things I want to note before we, let's say, finish out this video and, you know, really give you that dialed in final thought. All of these pistols have great options. You know, aftermarket wise, they all have support for the most part, with the exception of the Canik. Out of the box, needing nothing, coming with a, let's say, a magwell, coming with an excellent optics cut, coming with night sights, a co-witness, coming with good grip textures, coming with a comp, you know, good customer, let's say good customer service, good backup plan if you ever get involved in a shooting. Well, which one of these pistols checks every single one of those boxes? Well, there's only actually one of them that checks all of those boxes, and it's the Shadow Systems. So, you know, like I don't usually talk about it, but like if I was to go get into shooting today, like at the local Circle K, and it gets confiscated from me, Shadow Systems will replace it. You know, will some of these other companies maybe do that out of good graces? Maybe. Do they have a policy for it? No. You get a magwell, you get a gun that, you know, co-witnesses with its iron sights. You know, the Echelon is the next closest as far as that goes, but you get all that stuff. And then, you know, slide serrations with these, they're all good. You know, the SIGs is the worst, but they're not bad. You know, the Echelon, Carry Comp, the Canik, the Shadow Systems, and the PDP, take your pick. Which one do you like more? Because none of them are bad, none of them are lacking or anything like that. Yeah, I like the top strap stuff that you get from both the Carry Comp and the Shadow Systems. I wish the Walther had it, wish the SIG had it, wish the Echelon had it, but it's not that big of a deal. You can easily still do press checks. They all have good options. But the point that I really want to make with all these is that sometimes you just find pistols that you just personally may shoot really well, and that's what I would really tell you to gravitate towards. Not because I tell you that the Shadow Systems is the best. You may pick up this, you may pick up the Echelon, you may pick up the Smith & Wesson, but for me, I shoot this better than all of these. Time on the gun probably has a lot to do with it. This feels like a natural extension of my hand when I shoot it, and it just feels so well. You can, and this is also a good point to make to you, is that you can mitigate higher bore axes if you just know how to hold the gun properly. And what I really want to make note of is that when I shoot this pistol, that dot just tracks completely straight up and down. There's no left movement whatsoever when I pull the trigger or anything like that. And that's a point that you can really get to with any of these guns. So guys, I've told you that the Shadow Systems was probably like the #1 pick out of all of these. My personal #1 pick is probably the SIG AXG Legion. After that, you know, the Echelon is such a good budget option. You know, don't take that negatively, but it's probably the best overall value that you could stay well under, let's say $800 bucks. You'll probably find these closer to $600. You know, and then obviously the Smith & Wesson is in there. So #1 all the way to 5. #1 is the Shadow Systems. #2 is the SIG. #3 is the Echelon. #4 is the Smith & Wesson Carry Comp. And #5 is the PDP. And #6 is going to be the Canik TTI Combat. There is some interchangeable, nature in there. It's just like a lot of people really like this pistol. I really like it. Gave a glowing review. I think it's one of the best pistols Smith & Wesson has come out with in a very long time. I think the Shield series is still lacking a lot of things, but I think that this pistol doesn't really lack much other than it could use a better optics plate system instead of these polymer shit plates and taller sights. Other than that, I think it's a fantastic gun. I could probably interchange it and put it up there closer to 2 or 3 or 4 if I really wanted to. But like I said, it's really hard to unseat the XR920P and the SIG for me because I like the SIG so much and how I shoot it. But guys, disagree with me, hate the video, think I'm an idiot, don't know what I'm doing, screw you, I like the Canik better. Well, that's fine. This is the beauty of this little, best striker fire comp guns of 2024. The beauty of it is these are all damn good pistols. There's not really a bad one on this table. I own all of these. These all sit in my safe every single night. And I shoot them all, somewhat regularly. The SIG and the XR920P, I probably shoot the most. And then the Echelon, and this is really creeping in, the carry comp, because I shoot the M&P series very well. So great options. Let us know what you guys think. Drop us your favorite carry comp or comped pistol gun on the market.